What's good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I want to break down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what's happened in the market so far, what data just came out that's very important, what the news is saying, how all of this could affect all these different tickers. I'm going to break down some important levels to watch for, why the market is once again starting to show a little bit of weakness this morning, and some very, very new things that are developing. But before I break down all this information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, the link down below, and deposit $100 into the account, you're guaranteed up to 5 free stocks. This offer ends in just about 12 hours from now, so check it out before they run out. Anyways, let's break down what's going on with the market. Looking at SPY, this thing is starting to gap up, push up very nicely after we got the PPI report. However, there's a bearish divergence developing, and this time, SPY is actually slowing down a little bit. It's been slowing down for the past couple of minutes, and we're going to be watching to see if this thing does end up coming back down to fill this gap to 448. And we're going to be watching this support right here at the 20 EMA. Now, when it comes to news affecting the markets, the PPI report came out, helping the market launch higher. PPI month over month was down 0.5%, which is good news. Core PPI was at 0% month over month, which is the same or very similar as before. Core PPI year over year was 2.4% below the expectations, below the forecast, which is good for the markets. And we also had PPI year over year at 1.3%. That is below the forecast and the consensus, which is once again bullish for the markets. So this is helping the market push a little bit more during the pre-market. And then later on at 9:30, we have Barr from the Fed giving a speech. Then we have Barr giving a speech on the 17-week bill auction at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we're going to be watching all this data very carefully to see how this affects the market. But the main piece of data is out. That's PPI. This has been decent so far. For earnings, we have basically Target. It's jumped quite a bit. They had a big earnings beat, and their sales have fallen again overall, but so far not bad whatsoever. It also expects the holiday quarter to look roughly the same. So very, very decent guidance, not too strong, not too weak. We'll be watching this very carefully. Now, on top of all of this, a couple of things to know about the market before we open. We're getting cooler inflation from CPI and also PPI, which is a very good sign for the markets moving forward. There's also this news that came out that the House managed to pass a funding bill with the bipartisan support, sending it to the Senate to help avoid the shutdown. We'll see how that goes moving forward. We also saw declining rates last week, fueling mortgage demand, hitting its highest point in 5 weeks, according to the Mortgage Bankers Association. That's worth noting. We're also starting to see President Joe Biden meeting President Xi of China. Once again, whatever is going on here is going to be interesting. So we'll see how this thing goes when it comes to tensions. Uh, Target did well for earnings. We also have a couple of other big ones coming out. And besides that, Apple gets a whopping 36% of Safari search revenue from Google. Alphabet CEO actually ended up saying that's Sundar Pichai. Interesting stuff so far, but that's pretty much it for the market, at least when it comes to news. Now, I just want to note that when it comes to SPY, there's nothing too crazy for today or tomorrow, but for Friday, we have millions and millions of options expiring because of OPEX. This is going to be very important. We'll be watching this very carefully to see how this affects the market. So I'm getting ready for Friday. For now, looking at SPY, this thing's been pumping very nicely, starting to show a little weakness for the last hour, but we'll see if this thing can continue higher or not. So you're going to be watching resistance right here at this 451 area. If we break this, SPY is going to come up to 452.28. And above that, we have some tight resistance in the 453s because of historical rejections in the past. So right here, we've seen SPY actually reject 453 to 452 in the past. So we're going to be watching that level of interest very, very carefully. So those are resistance levels. For support, you're going to be watching 449.9. So that's like basically 450. If we lose that, there's a gap to fill down at 449.3. If we lose that, there's 448.6. If we lose that, there's 447.5. We're also going to be watching the 30 minutes 20 EMA on SPY. If we lose this support, there's going to be a risk of it coming down to fill this gap. So it's going to drop to like the 448 and just drop a bit to come back down. Right now, we're kind of up in the pre-market. We're up 0.4%. We're trying to hold up. There's a bearish divergence developing on the chart. This has not been invalidated, so there is going to be a risk of a rejection. It might pop a little bit more. We could see 452 or so, but just be very careful because the market's showing some signs of exhaustion. That doesn't guarantee that it's going to like slow down or anything. I'm just saying that you want to be very careful. You see these signals on Tesla. Tesla basically did exactly what we were predicting. I was saying yesterday that Tesla should get a pump back up to 242, if not 245. And even if that were the case off this bullish wedge, I warned everyone to just be careful because we have some tight resistance up here. So for Tesla, watch resistance at 240, 242.5, then 245. Not to mention 247 and then 250 above that. For support, you're going to be watching 238. If we lose this, watch this gap to get filled very close to 236. And if we lose that, there's 235, followed by 230, 234, 232, and then 230. In my opinion, although Tesla's trying to push up higher, you can see right here that Tesla has a declining MACD. And it's looking like it might start turning soon, but look for a little bounce first. If Tesla loses this 50 or the 20 EMA right here at 239, we could see it sink right back down to 234. So there could be a little downside coming if we lose this support. And Tesla's starting to like show a little weakness at the end of the day, so we'll be watching that carefully. There's going to be some risk of downside, so just be very careful if we lose this support. As of right now, Tesla might range trade up here. We'll see if we can try to break this. If it gets above 245, we're bullish. If it gets below 238, we could turn bearish. I think that right now it's looking a little weaker, a little bit weaker, showing some exhaustion. So just be very careful. On the QQQ, we're seeing the same thing. We're going to be watching this resistance right over here, basically at this 388 area. And I told you if we break 388, we could get very close to 390. We came super close and rejected. And we happen to have a bearish divergence developing on it. We're also seeing declining volumes. So if we're bullish, we want to see it break and hold 388. If we're bearish, we want to see it lose 386. Right now it's at 387. I think that this thing has a risk of it coming down to fill this gap at 386. If we lose that support, we're going to see this thing start sinking towards 384. It's showing some signs of exhaustion. If you look at this big wick right here, so it might start cooling off a bit. This is very evident right now, so make sure you watch support and resistance. On Nvda, we made a nice move to try to get above 500. Now we're just barely fighting it. If we're bullish, you want to see it hold 500, try to break this 500 and push it for 504. If we're bearish, you want to see it basically reject and come back down below 498. If it does so, we could be sinking toward 495. Now, the thing about Nvda is we have this bearish divergence that developed on the chart overnight, and we're seeing our technicals decline. So that we're going to be watching 498.8, the 20 EMA. If we lose that, I anticipate it's going to come down to 495 again for a slight decline. So there is going to be a risk of some downside. Not saying it's going to be major, but there is a risk of it looking at the pre-market thus far. On Aapl stock, Aapl has continued to respect this channel up here, but we're going to be watching support. So if you're bearish, you want to see Aapl lose basically this like support right here around 187. If we lose it, watch it fill the gap towards there's a 187 gap right here. If we lose that, then 186.6 is coming, and we're going to see Aapl decline. If we're bullish, you want to see Aapl break 188.5, and we can start pushing for 190 almost. Now, the thing about Aapl is just like the others I just mentioned, it happens to be developing a bearish divergence. And now I wonder, is this one going to finally play out? If it does, we might see Aapl sink back down towards this imbalance at 185. There's going to be some risk of downside as the market has pumped so much. So just be very careful, guys. But that's it for this video. I hope this video was helpful for the different viewers out there. Please know that even though the market could try to pop a bit more, we're starting to show some signs of exhaustion during the pre-market. So just be very careful, and we'll see how this plays out. All right. Thank you for listening. Have a good one, and peace out.